This is Uncommonly Remarkable, where we discuss the surprising everyday lives and notable accomplishments of community leaders, entrepreneurs, and everyday folks like you and me. My name is Artis Beatty. I am a doctor of optometry and the chief medical officer for MyEyeDr OD. Though we will inevitably touch on topics within my area of expertise, the opinions and the conversations held here are separate from my work with my eye doctor. Welcome back to another episode of Uncommonly Remarkable. Today's guest describes himself as a father, helper, friend, husband, and the overall character. Owner of CrossFit RDU, he describes it as a fantastic fitness community, and he strives to be a leader and an example for those in that community. He's a world-class athlete, an old-school breakdancer, a build-it-if-you-need-it kind of guy, and yes, I literally mean construction. My coach, mentor, and my friend. Ladies, gentlemen, and all you remarkable people, please welcome Steve Johnson to the show.
What's happening, Artis?
It's good to see you, Steve. In fact, your talk about building and doing things, you were coming from doing some paint work at the gym this morning, huh?
Yeah, man. We are putting a wrestling club in back and, just trying to get some stuff done.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time out to spend some time talking today. I know it's a little tough sometimes with all the things you do to make time, but I appreciate it. Because I know you fairly well, it's really hard for me to figure out where to start because I think there's so many things that are interesting to talk to you about. But I think the first thing we'll do is let's talk about the gym because that's kind of our beginning.
Right.
And so not the real beginning of the story, but probably as good a place as any to start. So CrossFit RDU, and for folks who are not familiar, CrossFit being a sport that was started in the U.S. and now is global. And there are affiliate gyms and programs, and RDU is one of those. Steve, talk to me a little bit about how the gym started, what kind of got you to that spot. And then we'll go from there.
I was doing jujitsu with a buddy, and he wanted to start a little jujitsu spot that so we didn't have to pay to go anywhere. I invested a little money with him. He opened a little spot. He had a guy come in to coach. And then this guy that I was involved with, he always wants to make money. So he decided to invite a CrossFit dude in who moved into the space beside us. And, I'd been in personal training and been training my entire life, basically since I was 14. And I saw this guy doing this CrossFit stuff with these people, or exercise, weightlifting. And I thought it was pretty cool. I started helping him because I saw that the people needed help. He needed a little help. Eventually, the jiu-jitsu thing went away. And I was just involved with the guy in the CrossFit, and we moved from the little space we were at one time, it was maybe 1,500 square feet, to part of the gym I'm in now is 3,000 square feet initially, and over the course of the first 9 months, I eventually bought this guy out. I say bought him out. He kind of went away. He wasn't really into it anymore, and then the day after that, I leased the other portion of my building, which was another 11,000 square feet. So we went from 3,000 to 14,000 in a week.
Wow.
And that's where we're at now. Yeah.
Wow. Had you've been in personal training, you've been training a lifetime, right? Had you thought about ownership of a facility and doing it on your own?
No. I just started doing it kind of as a hobby. I was doing something else that was supporting my wife and I at the time. And, I was just doing it to help. I wasn't doing it for monetary reasons whatsoever. And I just enjoy that. And then it just kind of moved from there, to where it is today. A lot of growing, a lot of changing in my mindset, according to what I was doing, other than it's always been about help.
And I think that's the biggest part, right? Like people sometimes say it's about helping other people, but they don't necessarily mean it in the way that you mean it. And so, like spending time with you and watching the gym really grow from a membership perspective, it is incredible to me how much time you spend actually trying to help people. And it's not necessarily helping them from a health point and an athletic point, but just in general, helping people. Where did that come from?
Probably my mother. We were pretty poor growing up. My mom worked probably 60, 80 hours a week. But even then, every time she had a opportunity to help her sister, they didn't have a lot of money either. Anytime she needed anything, my mother helped her. That's just what she did. Neighbors need help mowing lawns. Neighbors need help doing other things. My mom, always was there to help or asking us to help. And, that's just kind of what we did. Growing up, spent some time on a tobacco farm with my grandparents, and that's what we did. On the weekends, we went and helped.
Yeah.
So, I'm pretty sure I got it from my mother, and maybe it's just something that's innate within a lot of us that, we just enjoy helping, seeing others be successful and knowing we had a part in it.
So when you think about owning the facility and CrossFit in general, and you're much better at describing it than I am, but can you talk a little bit about the community and culture, and a little bit more about what sets CrossFit apart from, say, I don't know, just deciding you're going to go and do exercise at a gym?
Yeah, this is a funny question to ask me because, CrossFit is the community. That's the difference between going to a regular gym. Our gym and CrossFit as a whole is a kind of a peculiar community. Every gym is going to think they have the best community, right? Because of their own tribe. And I'm sure they're fantastic communities.
Yeah.
But I don't really think CrossFit is a thing, right? It's exercise. That's what we're doing. We're trying to exercise to be more fit. Now, some people are trying to exercise faster than others because there's the sport of CrossFit, right? But in general, we're just trying to exercise. We're just trying to become more fit. And that helps, right? But you want to be around a group of humans that are similar to you. So, what makes us different is I program things to be hard, to be difficult. And we concentrate on that similarity between our tribe of 300 and some people versus our differences. Yeah. And I think that similarity holds us accountable to one another as a group. So that helps us survive, especially in these crazy times. As a community, I think that's what sets us apart. It's not going and shooting pool or drinking beer like at a Moose Lodge, for anybody that knows what those are. It's going to a gym and kind of suffering together and working hard and having this commonality of just putting your head down and doing difficult things with one another.
I asked that specifically because I've heard you talk about kind of the difference between the experience that you're creating and kind of the general global experience. And I think it's something that's worth pointing out because there are lots of opportunities for people to go and join group fitness, CrossFit being one of those things. It's a group fitness thing. It's a lot different when it is focused on, I'm doing this, I'm looking to get more fit, but there's more to it than beating the clock all the time.
Yeah, it's going and doing something difficult in your day, and you know that everybody else around you is doing something difficult as well, at least relative to themselves, right? And I can't tell you that doesn't happen at other places.
Right.
I'm sure it does, but I program for that, for difficult. That's why I've never let anybody take over the programming.
You're one of the folks in the global scheme of things. There are very few of you who have been able to participate in the CrossFit Games. So if you kind of set the stage again, just kind of understanding the way that all of this works, the CrossFit Games are not like the World Series where we just invite the U.S. to play, right? Like everybody gets to play. So it's more like the Olympics than it is the World Series, right? And it's a grassroots type of thing. It starts at local gym level. Anybody can participate in the lower levels. And those who succeed there move to higher and higher levels. And then ultimately there's a group invited to come and actually participate at the highest level.
Right.
First, I guess I want to know, when did you figure out that you were just really good at the CrossFit stuff?
I had a hip surgery. I didn't have it replaced. I had it scoped. I think it's 11 years ago. And then after that, I was released. I had that in December. The open was March. So I was released, and like 2 weeks after I was released for, kind of getting after it, I did the open that year. And I don't think they had, it was 40 to 40. It was over 40 was the masters at that point. And that's where I was. So I did the open that year. I didn't do that well, but it was fun. And there was a competition, I think in somewhere around August or something at a little place right up the street from us, maybe 4 or 5 miles at Briar Creek CrossFit. And some people from the gym were going to do it. We had a girl that used to train at the gym. Her name is Meredith Root. And she was very early in her CrossFit career at the time, but she wanted to compete, right?
Okay.
And she was one of the people that I worked out with, that I trained and I worked out with. She convinced me to do the competition. She's like, I think you'll do really well at it. And so I will just go have some fun. I had another buddy, David Lynn, who was one of the coaches who was doing the open portion of it. I did the masters at that meet. And there was a guy who had done really well in the regionals the year before that was at it. And so I thought, well, we'll see how well I do here against this dude. And I'm pretty sure I won every event.
Wow.
And I don't say that I'm not trying to be braggadocious here.
Yeah,
I just happened to win every event, right? And I was like, wow, man, maybe I'm pretty good at this. And I wasn't trying to be good at it. I was just training with my people, which is the fun of it to me.
Right.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's, when Meredith was like, see, I told you were good. I think it was the following year, maybe. Yeah, it was probably the following year that I did the open and qualified for the games.
So you went from hip surgery to open to competition to qualifying for the games in a year span.
Yeah. And, I didn't know what to expect. I had no idea what to expect. I just did the workouts and then there I was.
You program for the masses. Do you program differently for yourself?
No, man, I pretty much do what we do with the classes. I may do it on a different schedule. And then I do a lot of skill work, meaning I do a lot of pull-ups, do a lot of toes to bar. I just do a lot of extra stuff. Anybody's, you know me. Anybody that's ever asked me, hey, do I get better at this? I'm like, just do more of it. Right? I mean,
right.
If you can't quite do it yet, do a progression to get to it, but you just got to do more of it. And that's kind of, I may just do more of the things to get better.
There's a particular skill set that if you divide it up into kind of, I guess, needed skills, there are the Olympic lifting skills.
Yep, weightlifting.
Then there is just the general conditioning piece.
Yeah, fitness.
Yeah. And then there are gymnastic skills.
Right.
The gymnastic skills you are exceptionally good at.
Yeah, well, I was. Yeah, I was before I lost my shoulder strength. So, yeah.
You came by gymnastic skill kind of very honestly because you have done a lot of just walking around on your hands as a kid, right?
Yeah. Instead of being on iPads, we were outside trying to see who could walk the farthest on our hands and, just doing things.
Yeah.
And like you said in the beginning, I was a break dancer.
That's what I want to talk about is this breakdancing.
And, that in and of itself is part of probably why I'm pretty good at the gymnastics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to tell me, like, where did you start with breakdancing? Like, what did you do with it? I've seen you do some breakdancing at odd times, just kind of randomly. But, like, it sounds like you actually had some fun with it.
Yeah. Breakdancing started when I was like maybe 12, 13. I was young. And I think we saw it in a movie. It was Flash Dance, right?
Oh,
You ever seen the movie?
Oh, yeah.
And there was a little scene in it when she was on the streets in New York. And, me and my buddy saw it. And we thought, man, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And, we couldn't absorb all the information like kids can today. We just sit and watch that clip on our VHS over and over. And then there was a couple movies called Breakin', a movie called Beat Street, which probably has one of the best breakdancing battle scenes in history. And, we just watched the stuff, man. We just tried to figure out how to do these things. And then once I figured out how to do the things that were in these movies, I tried to figure out how to do different things that I would come up with in my head. And I became pretty good at it. So, with just a piece of linoleum on an old trailer park concrete slab where there was no trailer sitting. And me and my buddy would sit out there, my buddy Steve Wood, and we had one of those old, big, giant, old school boxes playing Run DMC and Shannon.
On cassette tape.
That's right.
Spending your time twirling around on your head.
Yeah, man, I'd have knots on my head and my spine would be bruised and stuff from trying to figure it out. But yeah.
You've also had, you said shoulder strength, but you've also had like all these injuries from doing all these things. Recounting the injuries is tough because you've had, since I've known you, quite a few.
Right.
What's interesting to me is how you deal with being injured, and the fact that you always find a way to come back to doing what it was that you were doing before.
Yeah, I'm not sure how smart that is. Giving all the injuries. But yeah, I had hip surgery, which was didn't seem like a big deal. Once the pain was gone, after the surgery, the pain was gone. Once it was rehabbed, it was rehabbed. He told me it'd be about 5 to 10 years before I would need a replacement. So I figured, we're going to replace it. I'm just going to get after it. Then I had a long-standing back injury that I knew eventually I was going to have back fusion. I was already told by a surgeon that I was going to need it probably when I was 38 because I was having some issues, but I quit playing golf. And that kind of made my pain go away. And it's probably the reason I'm married to this day. And I quit playing golf. And and then I managed to do CrossFit and just strengthen it. And then finally, it gave in and I had to have a lumbar fusion. I figured I had battled all that time with it pretty much broken. Now it was fixed. Now it was solid. In my head, in theory, it should be stronger than it was before. So, I kind of was just grateful for, still having the ability to do it for modern medicine, for my surgeon.
Yeah.
And I'll probably, as you asked me about this, talk about gratitude a lot because it that's probably the thing that makes me come back from these things is the gratitude, just for my ability to come back and to look at it in a more positive way than, I can't do the things I could do before, but I can still do things. And let's see how many things we can do.
That's the part that I find most impressive is you said it the way I think about it, right? Most people, when you suffer a setback, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical setback, it can be a setback in any frame. There are people who understand how to recover from that setback and press forward maybe in a different way or in a similar way, but at a lesser extent or whatever it has to be, right? And then there are people who lose their way and everything kind of falls apart.
Right.
And you have been always the setback and recover. And you try to teach people to think about things that way. Is it the gratitude that causes that? Because it's really, it's really impressive to think about how many times you've had to start over or rethink it.
Yeah, 100%. It's gratitude. As you know, before my lumbar fusion, I had qualified for the games several times and turned down my invitation to go. And my reason for it was, I had little kids now. I had little boys. And the training, not necessarily the training, but the recovery from the training just took too much time away from them, right? So, I just wanted to spend time with them, help my wife with them. And then the fusion came, and it cut into my training even more, but it didn't cut into my time with them, right? It added my time with them. So there's gratitude that something that put me in a spot that I probably needed to be in anyway. I probably needed to be spending that time with them and growing that connection with my boys. And then that just makes it easier, So, well, I can't train as much as I could before, but who cares? Because I can take that time and put it into something more valuable. Just thankful for that. And then also that, my boys saw this happen to me. Now they get an opportunity to see me come back from that and to put into action all the things I'm trying to teach them. So it's gratitude for the opportunity to be an example. It's gratitude to the people that come to the gym to see, hey, I talk about it all the time, meet yourself where you are and train in that spot. And if you keep moving forward, you'll get to where you want to be. It's gratitude, man. It's exactly what it is, It's gratitude for modern medicine.
Yeah, there's something to be said for modern medicine. Something to be said for it. You've also lived in a variety of places and done some very interesting things. So I went to professional school in South Florida in the very late 90s, early 2000s.
Right.
And it turns out you were in South Florida in that general time period too.
Yeah, for a brief time.
Yeah. And it's always interesting. It's always funny to me when I think about, because you think about where you were at different times and paths never crossed, and then you meet people way later or at a different time, and there's all these things in common. And so, we've had lots of conversations about the South Florida area during that time period, but I never had any of the exciting things happen to me that you had happen to you. Like I never ran into Tyrese at a place or any of those things.
Yeah. It was full of people that you wouldn't expect to see. Maybe you'd expect to see them down there in the late 90s.
Yeah.
I went out and had fun and, saw people, Madonna, Dennis Rodman. The same thing. If I go to Vegas now, I've run into people in Vegas and see people, and I think that's what happens when you're in those spots.
There's a difference, though, because, I could say, oh, yeah, I saw this person. I can't say, and then I sat with them and I had a conversation and we became friends and then they invited me to do this or and like for whatever reason, when you talk to people tend to like talking back to you and you end up making all these connections that I think are just beyond what normal people would make.
Yeah, I don't know. People are people.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not starstruck or just people are people. And, some people I don't even know who they are. You just start talking to them and that ends up who they are. I don't see it any different than, I'm really good friends with you. And, you're not a movie star, but you're highly successful. Oh. So how did that happen? So it's just pretty much like that. People are people and you just meet them and you talk to them, you hang out with them. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. And I don't see it as a big deal.
Well, I guess you're right on that regard, right? Like people generally are just people. And I feel like as part of my day to day, I spent a large part of my career doing exams with people, right? And I would call it my 15-minute best friend because you get 15 minutes or so to learn all about a person's problems, offer them some sort of solution, talk to them about what you found, and then you would then spend 15 minutes with the next person and you would do that over and over and over again.
Yep.
And for me, going out and meeting a stranger is a very scary thing, right? Like I would never go out and just offer a conversation, but in that controlled environment, in that room, it was kind of what I do. In your regard, you take that and blow it up, right? Like you are able to do that in whatever environment that you're in. And I just think that that's fairly remarkable, because it has actually given you a lifetime of adventures that most people will never be able to put together.
Yeah. And it could be the reason that I've had success in the business I'm in right now, because I just like people. I think people are interesting, no matter whether society says they're interesting, kind of like your podcast, Uncommonly Remarkable, right? I don't think I'm remarkable, but I think it's pretty cool that you invited me to do this, right? So I just like talking to people. My oldest son, right, he gets that from me. He's 10 and he'll talk to anybody, He just loves, like, he's getting his hair cut yesterday and he's having a conversation with the hairdresser. Like, she started talking to him. She didn't know what she was in for.
Talk about the boys for just a second, because you've got two, and I can't believe he's 10 already, actually.
Yeah, Nico is 10, and he'll be 11 in October, and Rowan just turned 8 in March.
When I think about you and kind of what you do, I would imagine that when you started having them get involved in sports and activities, that there was probably a level of expectation just because of like who you are and your ability and what you do with people. How did you temper that with them, and how have you dealt with how they perform when they are because they're both actively now involved in sports?
Yeah, that hasn't really been an issue. My thing is if you're going to do this, I just want you to try. Which with my 10-year-old, his first sport, we would say, was swimming, right? He wanted to swim. We put him in a little year-round club, and Nico's not, for his age, he's not super strong. He's not very strong. I think he got his mother's genes. But the YMCA, he had to swim, 25 meters to get this band to be able to go on a slide. And Nico was like, "Hey man, I want to try to swim this 25 meters." And this was before he could swim really. And, my wife was a little hesitant about it. I'm like, sure, just try. They had a lifeguard watching. And he almost drowned himself trying to get to the other end. And like, he would not grab the edge. He continued to try and try and try. And he eventually made it to the other side without any help. He was super winded, and then he had to tread water for 30 seconds. And then he managed to do that. And he did what they asked him to do, but I don't think he did it well enough. Mm-hmm. And the girl was like, "Yeah, you did fantastic, but, we're not going to be able to give you it was like a black necklace today." And he was like, "Okay." And he popped up out of the pool, and he just asked me if he could try again the next day.
Oh, wow.
Like it was nothing. And my wife was like, "You got to get it. You got to go in and get him." And he is just always, regardless of whether he's as strong as the other kids or as fast as other kids, he just gives every single ounce of everything he has. And it's pretty special. I don't want to rob him of it. I don't want to rob him of it with the expectation of trying to be better or needing or comparing him to other kids, to where he starts letting that leak in and make him nervous, right? I praise the effort, and it's always just about trying to be better. And he's really good at that for now. We'll see as he gets older, and the peer pressure and the kids and the way things happen. They wrestle now. And it's probably the hardest sport, toughest sport there is, And then my youngest, Rowan, he's a lot like I was when I was little. He's gifted. He's fast. He's quick, strong for his size. And so in wrestling is the one thing he really likes to do. He kind of excels somewhat out of the gate relative to the other kids because he's quick and fast and strong. He's not super aggressive, though. I would say that's probably he's just not super aggressive. Mm-hmm. But he does really well, and he likes that people say that he does really well. So when he gets put into a situation to where he could possibly not do well, he gets nervous. He gets shy, like he's either going to let himself down or let people down, which I really remember this from my childhood and playing sports. So when he gets put into competition, he breaks down a little bit because he's nervous. He's scared of letting people down. And you put him in practice situations where he feels like he's going to do really well, and he's just a little dog, man. But then when he gets put into a situation where the other kid is maybe the same as him, once again, he gets nervous. So trying to, I guess, deal with the mindset there of knowing where he's coming from and how do I help him through that. I don't have any expectation. He's the one I definitely can't have expectation with because that expectation will just put too much of a burden on him. And he needs to know that, whether as long as he's trying hard, right, we're going to go get ice cream, man. It doesn't matter to me whether you win or lose. I just want you to be trying to be better. And if it's not what you want to do, we'll find something else that you want to do. So yeah, I haven't had that issue with them, other than, if they don't give full effort, there's a problem, and we try to figure out why they're not giving that full effort. And most of the time it's because they're nervous. And I don't know that I've ever seen Nico really not give a big effort.
That's interesting to hear you talk about it that way, because particularly when you start with, he's gifted, thinking about Rowan, because I think a lot of folks, when they realize that they have a child that has some sort of ability, whatever it might be, physical, mental, or whatever, it's difficult for them to meter the expectation and add that extra pressure, which in the end can make it very difficult for that child to really perform whatever the task is well. And so it's commendable that you recognize that and really have thought about it to make sure that he's having the experience that's important for him and not the experience that that you're trying to give him.
Yeah. The word gifted, I say that which a lot of kids, you could say some kids are just more athletic. Mm-hmm. Like in youth sports, the kids that are faster and stronger in the beginning, they just win. Mm-hmm. Right? And they're at a disadvantage and they don't realize it, because that strength and that quickness that they've relied on, if they don't practice and they don't get technically better, it goes away. And the kids that were grinding and weren't as fast and as strong and as big, and they go through their growth spurts later, but they learned how to work, and they learned how to day by day just try to get a little better, a little better, a little better. When they do get bigger and when they do get stronger, they catch those kids. And then those kids that have been better, they don't know how to deal with it. And they don't know how to work. They don't know how to practice. All they know how to do is be strong and fast. Yeah. And then that mentally, I mean, you see it throughout sports all over, man. Kids, they'll quit because they can't deal with that. So that's the thing that I try to make sure I'm paying attention with Rowan. Is that we cannot have that be a handicap to him. Yeah. It can be to his advantage, but we know what's in front of him. But that expectation from the parents is one of the things that'll drive them to be nervous and to shy away from it because they don't want to let you down.
And you spend a lot of time with the boys, and outside of the things that they do athletically, I think you guys spend time doing a bunch of projects. I mean, You've driven cross country with them. I've seen you do things at home with them, and I think that's very important, right? The time spent, to your earlier point. But what I love to see is when you're actually doing construction projects and the boys are participating in the construction projects.
Yeah, they like to help me paint. They want to help me use the hammer drill to put bolts in the ground and put the rig up. Yeah, I mean, I think all little kids want to figure stuff out like that. Well, maybe not all, but mine do. Yeah. They want to help. They want to figure out how to do this or do that. And so I kind of put them in there, try to get them off the iPad and keep them in front of me.
You build a lot of things.
Right.
So where did that start, though? Because it's a little bit unusual.
I don't think so. I think, I'm old. So, I'm about to be 54. And when you grow up in the age I grew up and you don't have a lot of money, you got to figure out how to do stuff on your own, Yeah. You learn to change the brakes on your car, change the oil in your car. That's what we all used to do. Yeah. You didn't take it somewhere to have that done.
Right there. I've done all
you
that
went and bought the brake pads from AutoZone and changed the brakes on your car in your driveway. If you wanted a deck built, somebody in the neighborhood knew how to build one, and then they'd come help you build a deck, and you pay attention to it and You learn how to build.
Yeah.
And I just came across many people in my life, like just jobs that, I put, when I was maybe 16, 17, I worked putting shingles on a roof. When I was 15, I worked with a guy putting carpet in of all of IBM. So we pulling carpet out and putting carpet in. So I learned how to lay carpet. And then when I was like 18, 19, I worked building a place with a guy who was like highly knowledgeable about building. And, he taught me how to put in plumbing and lay concrete and frame. And man, it's just endless thing. He taught me about electrical work, HVAC work. And then maybe early 30s, I worked with a couple framing crews building homes down in Brunswick County, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned how to frame homes. That's kind of how I learned everything, man, just through time.
And I've seen you put together just things like the deck is a great example that you were working on at your house, but you also work on things at the gym. Sometimes at random, it seems you're like, I'm going to build this here in this spot. There's the most well-built shelving unit for wall balls I've ever seen. That thing's tornado proof.
Yeah. Could be a DJ stand. Yeah. I was climbing on it the other day.
But you make a good point, though, about growing up. I spent a lot of time doing a lot of those similar things, right? Like a lot of car repair. My dad and I would spend time together on whatever needed to be done at home because you really didn't call people to do it. My dad did it. I learned how to do it because he did it, and it just puts you in a different position. You feel like you can figure things out, and even when you could call someone, though, it puts you in the position. Well, I'm not going to call people. I'm going to go do this myself.
Yeah, I think you just said a great phrase that I like to say, figure it out.
Yeah.
I like to feel like I can figure it out.
Well, I tell you what, we need to have story time with Steve because it's one of my favorite things to do is to get you to tell me stories about some of these things in these different places or different jobs that you've done. And so what I will commit to is having you come back and do a segment of periodic stories from spaces in your life, and we can weave those things together because I think it would be incredibly interesting.
Yeah, we can try, but some of them I don't know need to be talked about.
Well, and
other than by the water cooler at the gym.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. But we can also talk about things in the hypothetical.
Yeah.
So, if you had advice for someone who was really thinking about doing something different in their lives or careers, and they were wondering, is this the right thing for me? Or what do I need to think about to try to make myself successful? What would that advice be?
Number one, you can get it done. And it just kind of brings to mind someone I'm thinking about right now. And a friend of mine, I've been trying to tell him to make a move for a while. And he asked me when I started doing this, like the gym, that I have a backup plan. And my backup plan is me, and I told him no, I didn't have a backup plan. It's kind of like burn the boats. And I feel like that's what it is. You don't need a backup plan. And if you feel like you need a backup plan, then maybe you're not as committed to this thing you're getting ready to do as you need to be.
Yeah.
Granted, if you have a wife and kids, you're trying to make a move, you're going to be nervous. And you probably in your mind think, man, I need a backup plan. But I think you just need to have that confidence in yourself, especially if you're the kind of person that can get it done, which this guy I'm thinking about, he definitely is. I think it's a process, man. If you can see the first step in front of you, you take it.
Yeah.
And you take the next. You may not be able to see the end of the road. If you can see the first step in front of you, just take it. And take the next one, take the next one. You're going to make mistakes. You learn from them, hopefully. Try not to make them again. That you can make it happen, because people have made it happen. You look around yourself, look around at the people around you and see how many people have made it happen. And what did they do? They just took action. They decided to do it. And they bet on themselves and they saw it through.
Yeah. I think that's incredible advice, but I also think I've seen you do it, right? And you've said burn the boats before, even when committing to try to do something new or athletic at the gym. For me,
Yeah.
And it's funny how your mindset thinks how your mindset changes when you think I'm committed to this versus I have a backup plan.
Right.
And so there have been times when loading the bar, there's more than one way to load that bar, right? One way is to stack plates of smaller and smaller increments on there because you have an escape plan. Well, if this gets real hard, I can take off this and I still have something I can work with versus the burn the boats approach where you put the weight on there and that's what you're working with.
That's right. And sometimes that's smart.
Yeah.
Because you can accomplish something like mentally and overcome something maybe you were nervous about. And sometimes, when it comes to what we're doing at the gym, maybe you do need to lighten the load so you don't hurt yourself. But at the same time, if you always give yourself that option, the more you take that option, the easier it gets to take that option.
Yeah.
I think we all know if we're overcommitting, yeah, man, burn the boats. I love it.
Burn the boats. Well, Steve, I really, again, appreciate you coming and talking with us today. I mean, it's been fun. And I love the fact that we've gotten to talk about professional Steve a little bit, talk a little bit about breakdancing in the family, and we've gotten to set ourselves up for story time with Steve, which I think is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah. Where's Kevin? Kevin Leonard, when you need him.
That's exactly right.
Right.
That's exactly right. If you've enjoyed listening to the episode and you like the show, make sure that you subscribe and like and tell your friends about it. That way other people can enjoy it too. But until next time, keep being remarkable.